Good evening, and thank you for attending the first public hearing to provide input on the superintendent's recommended FY 2026 operating and capital budget. This evening is designed so that the board can obtain public input on the budget, as opposed to a back and forth discussion. Board members will utilize what they hear tonight to help them formulate questions for staff during our January 21st workshop and craft amendments for our February 19th board meeting. This public hearing is being broadcast live on AACPS TV, which can be found on Channel 96 on Comcast and Astound, and Channel 36 on Verizon. High definition broadcast can be seen on Channel 996 on Comcast, Channel 496 on Astound, and Channel 2136 on Verizon. The meeting can also be viewed live on AACPS's YouTube channel, www.aacps.org/YouTube. I will call speakers in the order that they have signed up. If a speaker is unavailable at the time that I announce their name, I will move them to the bottom of the list and call them at the end of the hearing. Each speaker is allotted 2 minutes. The yellow light below me will shine when you have 30 seconds left. The red light will shine and you will hear a tone when your time has expired. For virtual comments, Ms. Howe will indicate when your time has expired. If you are unable to deliver your full 2 minutes to the board, you can email your comments to the board office at boardoffice@aacps.org. Again, thank you for joining us. So I do have one announcement to make before we get started, and this is from Ms. Schauheim. Ms. Schauheim asked me to read the following statement. Ms. Schauheim regrets that she is unable to attend tonight due to needing to attend a school event with her daughter. She will certainly watch the recording of the hearing. Okay, so we're going to begin with our virtual speakers this evening. And so our first speaker is Christina Corona.
Good evening. I'm Christina Corona, a high school teacher currently serving as TAC president. I'm out of town at a leadership training and wish I could be there in person with my fellow educators, advocating tonight for a robust budget to make our working conditions more sustainable. We applaud Dr. Bedell's request for 155 additional special education positions, which will help reduce the crushing workloads of our special educators and related service providers. In particular, having more TAs will support our elementary colleagues dealing with difficult student behaviors that create stressful and at times unsafe conditions. We're also glad to see more school counselors and staff for our multilingual learners. And the increased wages for Unit 3 staff are necessary to fill vacancies, providing them with the living wages they deserve. Where we must see improvement is with Unit 1 compensation. Due to years of stagnant wages, recent COLAs have not been enough to make our salaries competitive or even get us ahead of inflation. Starting last year with the collapse of the first 3 steps of our salary scale, early career educators finally saw their salaries catch up with surrounding counties, but the remainder of the scale still lags behind. This is why many loyal, experienced educators continue to feel undervalued. Additionally, you've been hearing from our social workers who also need their salary scale improved. To make all of our pay more competitive, it will take an amendment from this board to secure the county funding needed to make this happen. Now, I know this proposed budget is already a big ask. We, the educators of this county, are ready to join with you, advocating together to the larger Anne Arundel County community about what it will take to move our school system from good to great. Even tonight, we have more of our members advocating in District 2 at County Executive Pittman's first budget town hall. We need our community to understand that educators can best serve our students when we have manageable working conditions, and that competitive salaries will recruit and retain us. Yes, this will take increased revenue, which is why we look forward to partnering with you to get our message out to the wider community that our children are worth the investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Corinne Emerson.
Good evening to the board. I am speaking to you tonight as both a parent and a former special educator. I'm a parent of a 5th grader at Brockton Elementary School. I'm speaking tonight In favor of the superintendent's budget request for special education. Our family were recipients of community-based services from 2016 to 2019. Infants and toddlers and later child fund. It has come to our attention that AACPS community-based services has seen an increase of enrollment of 58% in the last 2 years. During the 22-23 school year, I taught conditionally as a special educator in an elementary school in the Meade cluster. I saw firsthand the challenges our teachers face trying to adapt instruction for students with disabilities and ESOL students with limited staffing. I was chatting with one of my son's preschool teachers this past week, who is currently teaching with AACPS. She said teachers who care cannot do it alone when you have 5 kids with IEPs and FITs. I can't agree more. I told her that help was on the way. I asked the board to approve the superintendent's budget request for special education. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Maisie T. Howard. And I understand that Maisie Howard is not with us. Okay, so then we're going to be moving on to our in-person speakers. And so I'm going to call up 3 at a time. First of all, we have Jorge Cordoba, Christine Smith, and Christy Giuliano.
Good evening, Board of Education members and Dr. Bedell. I'm Jorge Cordova, an educator for more than 25 years that has worked as a teacher and now as a PPW in several high schools in this county since 2007. I'm also a taxpayer and tax vice president, a union that proudly represents more than 6,000 educators. In the last decade, the educators in Anne Arundel have always received a COLA inferior to inflation, except for last year when inflation was 2.8% and we received 3% COLA. As a result, the purchasing power of our salaries has declined dramatically. The inflation expected for this year is around 4%, and when the new Republican administration imposes tariffs, the inflation will be even higher. That is why it is a must for employees to receive a COLA that keeps up with the inflation. When Dr. Bedell visited our union representative assembly, thank you, he well said, nobody wants to be a part of a losing team. When AACPS systematically doesn't provide its educator with a COLA higher than inflation, it becomes a losing team where educators leave to go and get better paid elsewhere. AACPS states in its strategic plan that will invest in our staff and also increase the retention of instructional staff. Well, now is the time to show that these are not empty words. Provide educators with a COLA higher than inflation. Give a longevity bonus to all that are in step 25, including myself. Give more paid time off to help employees avoid lost time. The narrative that there's no money is not valid anymore. We have seen how AACPS spend millions of dollars in bright space, a nightmare for students, parents, and educators. We have seen how brand new schools are not net zero ecological schools that would have saved a lot of money to us, the taxpayers. There are no solar panels in the school roofs to start selling power. Please stop spending money on things that are not the solution and spend it in winning by providing educators with COLAs higher than inflation and a longevity bonus. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine.
Good evening, Dr. Bedell, President Silkworth, and Vice President Dent, and distinguished board members. My name is Christine Smith. I'm a school social worker and have been working in AACPS for 20 years. Tonight, I'm also a county taxpayer as well. Tonight, I am here to speak on behalf of the 65 hardworking AACPS school social workers who are requesting salary parity for our profession. Many of us have emailed you in advance about our request to add a budget line to ensure pay equity, and some of you have replied back to our request, and for that, we thank you. I would like to provide some additional information that will provide clarification and support for our request. Since the inception of school social work in AACPS in the late 1990s, we have been paid less than our peers, who are all Unit 1 personnel like ourselves. All surrounding counties and Baltimore City schools pay their school social workers on the same specialty scale as school psychologists and pupil personnel workers. As school social workers, we work with students, families, staff, and communities. We work in comprehensive elementary, middle, and high schools. We work in special centers and niche programs like community schools, programs for students with autism and emotional disabilities, as well as the virtual academy. Our work is valued and needed. We are master's level clinicians and must hold an advanced licensure to be hired at AACPS that allows us also to bill for some of our services. Up to this point in time, we have not had representation. In 2020, school social workers finally got their own department, but we continue to lose qualified candidates and current AACPS social workers due to pay discrepancy. We don't have pay equity, and we might continue to lose these credentialed value people. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of my fellow social workers, and be safe getting home tonight.
Thank you. Christy.
Good evening. I'm Christy Giuliano, a math teacher from Broadneck High School. I am grateful for teaching in AACPS and am pleased with the changes our district is taking with the new strategic plan. I'm here tonight to provide comment on the proposed budget. I am in favor of the budget request and encourage its approval in general. It would be beneficial, though, if we could get an accurate inventory of the number of Chromebooks in the county. If there are enough that all high school students are being issued their own one this upcoming semester, I'm not sure there's a need to spend $6 million on laptops for high school students next year. Laptop cards and devices were heavily funded last year. Could this expense be earmarked for future budgets? As a classroom teacher, the cards have worked great this year. With the semester change, however, I'm going to need at least 10 chargers because my students don't keep their devices charged and they lose their chargers throughout the year based on my experiences the last couple years. Only 40% of students returned their Chromebooks in working condition last year, so I'm hesitant on that expense again and would like to see that $6 million budgeted fund a 1% COLA pay increase, especially for 25-plus year teachers who are still $6,000 behind PG County and $13,000 behind Montgomery County pay scales. And this money could be applied to security measures at high schools, like buying cell phone pouches to house phones during the day. Students use their phones to cheat, meet up with others in the bathrooms to plan or engage in inappropriate activities, distribute illegal substances, take pictures and videotape inappropriate events like fights, and send inappropriate texts to other students while they roam the hall or during downtime. These actions affect school safety and security and students' mental health and disrupt learning. It also affects the student-teacher relationship, with us always having to tell them to put their phones away or call the office to get the phones confiscated. I have cell phone tiredness syndrome. I hope you see that. Why are we letting students have this power? Let's do something about it. Isn't AACPS accountable for student activities at school? I appreciate the 2 weapons detection systems in the budget. Let's add 2 more for 2 more high schools to pilot it. It's time we act on safety and security. Our high schools and our students need you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call up 3 more. Ted Hall, Athena Hiotis, and Krista Davies.
Start. Okay, Dr. Bedell, you remember me? I do. Yeah, man. Last time I saw you, I handed you a chicken. Okay? Yeah, I handed him a chicken. That's right. Yeah, so I am an outdoor educator. I have been teaching in Anne Arundel County for 32 years. I love this county and I'm proud to teach in it and I'm proud of what we're doing, all right? I believe in equity, I believe in students, I believe in teachers, and I believe in pay. Teachers should be paid for what they do. Did you know that we have an awesome outdoor education program at Arlington Echo? And one of the things we do is we take those kids outside and they spend the night. And it means a lot. It changes their lives. It's really, really important. But one thing we don't do is we don't pay the fourth grade teachers to stay. We don't pay them past their time. Their time they go and they spend that time and they don't get paid. If they spend the night, they don't get paid for it. We used to have 100% of the schools spend the night, 100%. That was when it was an optional program. Now it's a mandatory program. It should be a mandatory program because all the kids should see this, should be out there. Now we started out at 60. Since COVID, we're down to 25% of the schools doing an overnight program. Well, we don't pay teachers. We tell the teachers they have to spend the night, but we don't pay them. Anne Arundel County has the opportunity to balance the scales of justice and ensure that teachers that sacrifice their time and their students to being equitably compensated. There are no other Maryland outdoor education programs that don't pay their teachers. I've never heard of it. I don't know if it goes on in other states, but in this state, we're the ones that don't pay our teachers. I can tell you how it happened, but it shouldn't be that way, okay? So I'm asking you to look at paying the fourth grade teachers when they spend the night to do that, and when they work overtime on the day program. Thank you very much. Dr. Bedell, I hope you come out again. I got some new chickens for you, all right? Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Athena Hiltis.
Hi there. I, along with my colleagues at Studio 39, were just hired for the 2024-2025 school year, making us the first class under the Blueprint Road to Licensure. And as you know, prior to this, there were 3 pathways towards certification, and the transcript analysis was removed. And what you might not know is that as teachers of the arts, we actually are not eligible for one of the remaining 2, which is the resident teacher program. And this leaves us with not one option, but one requirement, which is a master's program, a requirement that we did not know was our only option until after we got hired. And while there actually are 2 reimbursement programs through AACPS, they are exactly that, reimbursement programs. And while I might be extremely lucky enough to make those tuition payments last minute, I can't help but wonder what happens to teachers of the arts that really want to work for AACPS but don't have the means to pay for that requirement. And I know it's easy to look at the arts as mere entertainment, but for some students, as my 2 colleagues can co-sign, it is the reason why they do well. And we are all proof that we can be emphatic teachers and also successful professionals in our respective industries. So I know that the board does not make the laws, but I only ask that we have you consider supporting the 2024-25 hirees, in particular teachers of the arts, during this pivotal transitional period on a clear path towards educational greatness. I'm really honored to teach in AACPS, so I thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Krista.
Good evening. My name is Krista Davies. I've been teaching at Meade High School for 25 years. Each year, I have about 180 students. There was one year when I had nearly 200 in a semester, each semester. And I'm expected to get to know them and to build relationships with them, read their IEP plans, their 504 plans, their ELL plans, and keep each student's special needs in mind while I plan and deliver instruction, as it should be. But it's a lot to do for 180 students, and especially when I only see them every other day. You don't get to know them as well. Each week, I collect a couple of assignments. I try to read them all and write feedback on the work. If 150 of that 180 hand in all of their work, Then I spend about 2 minutes on each one, maybe longer for essays. That would add up to 10 hours of grading each week. And then I need time to call the families of the parents, the parents of the students who are not submitting their work regularly or who are struggling with concepts and things like that. All of this is to say that class sizes are too large. Too many students in each class. Teachers need to be able to get to know their students as individuals. I don't know if the best way to fix that is get rid of the A to B day schedule so I have 90 kids instead, or just make the classes smaller. Either way, it's going to require funding for more teachers, and also to make sure we fully fund teacher salaries to keep our experienced teachers and recruit great new teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. So that completes the list of folks that have signed up. I want to check, Ms. Howe, Maisie Howard, has Maisie shown up to testify virtually? And I think Ms. Howe's checking to see if there's anyone else. Oh, okay, so we do have. I'd like to call up Carice Setfus, Sue Young, and Holly Clatterline. Come on down.
My name is Cher Cephas. I am an AACPS parent and employee. I echo the people before me who thanked Dr. Bedell for his wise and robust budget request. Like many in our nation, the 2024 election devastated me, but my husband and fellow parent of 3 Freetown Elementary and 1 IBMYP MacArthur student lifted my spirits because he reminded me that my phone calls, door knocking, and apple balloting did help my preferred candidate, Board Member McFarland, win locally. I have shared that to say that I can and will partner with you beyond tonight. Dr. Bedell has to be wise and prudent, but I ask you as a board to be risk takers and fearless. Please approve Dr. Bedell's budget and ask for more money for the county, money from the county council. Please ask for a higher than 3% COLA for Unit 1s. Shoot for the sky with up to 10% per se. Ask to, as I was listening to my colleagues, I ask that you ask for money to pay for educators to work overnight, ask for money to properly compensate our social workers, ask for money to cover higher tuition fees. I believe in Dr. Bedell's vision to move this county from good to great, as I am a resident, so it does matter. I ask for you to let me partner with you by asking for more money from the county council so that we can generate the necessary revenue to ensure everyone truly belongs, grows, and succeeds in AACPS, and I'll be there for Volke. Hopefully he'll take this message too.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Young.
Good evening. Dr. Bedell and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Sue Young, and I'm the current school counselor at Belvedere Elementary School, and I am a parent of 4 AACPS graduates. Thank you for your interest in student mental health. That is a critical and foundational area that must be addressed when we consider student academic success. I ask that you continue to support the additional school counselor elementary positions noted in the budget to support those students who have a caseload of over 600 students. I also want to speak tonight on the importance of recruiting and retaining excellent and well-qualified school counselors. I know some of you have heard me speak on this before. Tonight, I want to share some of the advocacy that I have been doing and Holly has been doing and the other AACPS National Board School Counselors have been doing in the past year to provide you with a school level and to provide with a school level example of the impact that this can have. I will share those with you in a minute. But I do, sometimes it's important to have a perspective to see the bigger picture. So I have provided with you a packet of the following information. The Board of Education testimony that I gave a year ago now, the AIB testimony that I gave to the AIB board in March of 2024, and an email that I sent to many of the leaders of AACPS in collaboration with all 8 of the national board counselors that we sent in October 20th of 2024. The National Board for Professional Teaching Standards is the measurement Maryland has chosen, and that is inclusive of school counseling as they recognize our specialist role in providing meaningful and direct services. We have been advocating for over 5 years now on this topic. We believe in providing students with the excellence that NBCT requires we demonstrate. I currently have a caseload of 545 students at my school. I have advocated, you will see in the packet, a lot for this. I also am sharing an example of how I have reduced bullying significantly in my school because of the training that I get through the national boards to be a reflective and focused practitioner of my skills. So I know that I'm running out of time, as I always do, but I have a copy of this, and please especially take a look at the very last page that shows the data for Belvedere and the reduction of bullying. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Clydeline.
Thank you. Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, board members, and Dr. Bedell. My name is Holly Kleiderline. I'm in my 25th year as an elementary school counselor, and I'm a constituent in District 4. I read through the campaign material of our newest board members, and I believe all of you mentioned increasing support for student mental health as a priority. This is when you get to follow through on campaign promises. Dr. Bedell recommended an additional 3.5 elementary counselor positions in his budget, and I ask that you fully fund this request. There continue to be elementary schools with enrollment of over 600 students who have only one school counselor. That is more than double the recommended ratio. You might hear that finding school counselors for those positions is just as hard as funding them. I'll remind you that you are missing out on a critical recruitment and retention tool for school counselors, the National Board Salary Enhancement. There are only 8 school counselor NBCTs in this county, and none of us are receiving the same incentive to continue our work as our fellow National Board teachers. A budget reveals a board's priorities. The fact we've been treated inequitably for years speaks volumes. I am currently working on my maintenance of certification because I know the process makes me a better counselor and teacher. However, it is painful to look at my paycheck every 2 weeks and know what is missing. You've already lost one school counselor NBCT to retirement who would have stayed longer if the incentive were in place. And I know you will lose more of us without changing course. Please fully fund the school counselor positions and know that you have the ability to recruit and retain the most highly certified school counselors in the state. Thank you.
Thank you. So that does, I believe that does conclude the list we had here. Ms. Howe, that's pretty much it. Okay. So our next budget hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025, beginning at 6 p.m., and that will take place at Severn Run High School. We would like to remind everyone, if you provided testimony this evening, that you are not eligible to speak again on at that hearing. So we do thank everyone virtually and in person for being with us this evening. Please drive safely, stay safe, try to stay warm. Good night.